Vicki with My Paper Connection. I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up! In the United States. And today I'm going to show you how to color designer series paper that is black and white in 4 different ways. I love doing this sort of thing, and I think these all turned out so well. I did these on a YouTube live a couple of weeks ago, and the entire live video was blurry. And so I was asked if I would remake the video, and so I decided to just do a recording. And when I did it, it was over an hour long, so the majority of this is going to be fast forwarded. So this is the Rustic Harvest Designer Series paper. I'll be using this for a couple of the cards. As you can see, there is color on one side and designs on the other, black and white designs. Most of the black and white designs on this paper is abstract, although there are some flowers and some with some leaves. The next set that I will be using is perfectly penciled, and the majority of this is black and white florals or leaves or something like that. And I'll be using some of this for a couple of the cards as well. This paper is so pretty with such beautiful designs. And on the back side, it's mostly abstract as well, although as you can see, there are some flowers and leaves also. So pretty. Now the next set is the Abigail Rose, which I will not be using on this video, but I just wanted you to see it. It's mostly a very vanilla with soft suede, Sahara sand, or maybe gray granite, I'm not real sure, early espresso, and black. And it is such beautiful paper. I didn't want to do anything with it, but I'm just going to show you what I'm doing. So the first card, what's going to happen is you're going to see me going through with Coastal Cabana, Bermuda Bay, and a lot of other colors, because in the video that I recorded, I wanted to show you just a little snippet of all the colors that I was doing, and then I come back with it with the blender pen and show you how you just move that color all around. And then what I ended up doing while I was filming was coming back and doing all of one color and blending and then going to the next color. And you just saw me sharpening my Daffodil Delight pencil. My point there was you don't have to have a super expensive sharpener. That was just a Fisker pencil sharpener that I got at Walmart, I think. And it works really, really well. So what I'm doing here with these butterflies, or what I did with the butterflies, was I used Melon Mambo and Daffodil Delight. I put the Melon Mambo in first and then went back over with the Daffodil Delight. And then when I blend it, it will almost be an orange color, but you'll see that the colors, that there are still specific colors in there. So once I get done showing you all these different colors that I'm doing, I will walk through with each individual color as we're going along. And I did fast forward all of this. I mean, like the entire video except the beginning is fast forwarded, because if I had not, with doing 4 different cards, it was going to end up being well over an hour long, even edited. So when I found out, when I got to the end of that 4th card, that it was going to be that long, I was like, okay, I am going to just fast forward everything and just talk through it. So anyway, it happens a lot faster. The coloring happens a lot faster because it does take a while to do this. So basically what I'm doing right now is I am going over the flowers with Coastal Cabana, and I am then going back and I am really going in darker in some of those areas that have lines or little gaps or whatever, and I'm just making it a lot darker. And then I will also come back in later with the Bermuda Bay and make that even darker. It's really easy to just lightly color over it, and you don't have to be perfect with it, because once you use your blender pen, you start to blend everything together. Now what I'm doing now is just cleaning my blender pen because I had used it previously. And I'm going in with those, I went in with the butterflies and did those first, and it just turned into a really pretty color. Then I'm going to go back in with my next lighter color, which is the Coastal Cabana / Bermuda Bay combo. And I'm just moving that color around. As I mentioned before, if you don't color it perfectly, even if you leave some white spots, it's okay, because once you start using your blender pen and start moving that color around, there's enough color on the tip of your blender pen that you're able to just blend it all in. And I do like to go with my lighter colors first. I stick with one color as I'm going along, and then I clean my blender brush on a piece of paper, and then I go back in. As you can see, I go back in with my next lighter color, which in this case is the Melon Mambo that I'm using on those little flowers. Then I'm going back in with the Old Olive and Garden Green, and I'm just blending that all in really well. I like to stick with one color at a time. I do this whether I'm blending or if I'm using watercolor pencils or whatever technique I'm doing. I like to stick with one color at a time. Now, to finish this card off, I'm using the black Stampin' Write pen, and I'm flicking it by flicking the nub across, or the brush tip across the cap. I'm placing this piece of 3 3/4 by 5 onto a piece of basic black, and I have added some adhesive across the back of that to add my pool party sheer ribbon. Now I'm going to stamp my sentiment, and the sentiment is from the Botanical Layers stamp set. It says thinking of you. I'm using Coastal Cabana, and then I will use my double oval punch. I am going to just punch that out really quickly, and then I'm going to punch out a piece of Coastal Cabana with the scalloped oval section. I'm going to place that dimensionals behind that, and I'm going to place that on top of that ribbon. I also like to take a glue dot and place it under the ribbon as well, so that that ribbon doesn't shift anywhere. Now I'm going to just, I wove the ribbon up under that other piece of ribbon. I secured it down with a glue dot, and now I'm going to tie a ribbon. You can also tie a ribbon and place it on there with a glue dot. I like to do this technique because it kind of brings a little a drawing together like it does whenever you're tying a real bow. So now I'm just placing this basic black piece on top of my Coastal Cabana cardstock, and that's it. It's really pretty. Okay, so the next card I'm doing, I'm going to use the blender pen version. I'm showing you the piece that I'm using, which is 3 3/4 by 5, and I'm going to use the light Daffodil Delight in order to color this all in. And I've actually already done most of it, and what I'm doing now is I'm using the bullet point of the Stampin' Blend to go around all of the little find areas and just kind of highlight around those areas, so that it'll be really easy when I get that all done to come back in with the brush portion. It looks like it would take a really long time to do this, but it really doesn't. It doesn't take as long, in my opinion, to do this as it did the watercolor. Now I'm coming back in with the brush tip, and you can see, I mean, obviously it's fast forwarded, but you can see it colors a lot faster because you don't have to be so detailed about it. The other thing I wanted to point out is it looks really dark in some areas, but as it dries, it lightens up to a consistent thing. I placed that on a piece of basic white, which was 4 by 5 1/4, and now I'm placing this on top of a basic black cardstock card base. I'm using a piece of basic black. I used my embossing buddy, and now I have stamped the artistically inked stamp set using Thanks. I have now put the white, not basic white, but just white embossing powder over it, and I used my brush to clean it up. I noticed, I'm not perfect at it, I noticed once I got it all on there that it still had a few little pieces that I did not get brushed off. I'm cutting this down to size, and then once I do that, I'm going to end up using a black Stampin' Write marker to go back over those spots, and it really did cover it really well. I don't know the size. I will measure it and put it on my website in the sizes and everything, but as you can see, I went ahead and colored those spots. Now I'm making a bow with the crinkle seam binding, and I end up putting a glue dot on it, but then I put it on the table and just let it sit there for a second, because what I wanted to do was put this die cut on here first. I die cut this piece from the Honeybee Home Dies, I think it is, and I cut it out of Daffodil Delight. So I wanted to put that on first. I used an adhesive strip on the back of that too. Then I put a glue dot on to use that to put the ribbon on. For this card, I am doing the sponge dauber technique, and I'm using the Hello Harvest stamp set, using just the Hello from it. This paper is from the Hello Harvest Designer Series paper. I'm using Sahara Sand, I think it is, or either Gray Granite, I'm not sure. I'll put that on the website as well. And I did all the ginkgo leaves with that color. Then I came in with Mango Melody to do all of the, I think they're oak leaves. And I was going to use, I think it was crushed curry, but ended up deciding not to use that. Or did I? Yeah, I decided not to use that. So now I'm using the Cajun Craze. And again, I'm going in with all of the same leaves. I think that's a maple leaf. And then I'm coming in with Parakeet Party for these other small leaves, which I have no idea what they are. And I'm doing all of those at one time. And then I'm finishing off with Old Olive. And in my opinion, these look like Virginia Creepers. But, you know, what do I know about leaves? I'm not a botanist. But see how pretty that is compared to the black and white? And then this is the color of, or the design, it's colored with Cajun Craze on the back side of that paper. And so again, it's 3 3/4 by 5, just a simple card. I'm placing it on the 4 by 5 1/4 Designer Series paper. I loved the color of it, and it had those dots. And so I'm using Sahara Sand, which is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, scored at 4 1/4, to place this on top of that as well for my card. On my other card, I used a piece of basic white to stamp the sentiment, and I didn't like it. I wanted to keep everything Sahara Sand. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stamp the Cajun Craze on my piece of Sahara Sand. And the first time I stamped it, I realized it was not, that I needed to re-ink, and that was just a fiasco. So I re-inked it with Cherry Cobbler, of all things. And I had to go wash it all out and start over. So it took me a minute, and I came back in and stamped it with the Cajun Craze. And I used the love, I can't remember it, Label Me Fancy die. And then the, I forget the name of the other die. Again, it will be on my website. And then these are the Aspen dies, the leaves. I'm using the Sahara Sand ribbon. It's a twill ribbon that comes in a combination with Old Olive, and it's so pretty. And I'm just going to place that on with glue dots. Glue dots are my friend. I love them. I use them all the time. So just kind of did it in a little zigzag, and then I'm placing my sentiment on top of that. And then my card will almost be finished, and I will just add some rustic metallic, I think that's it. No, brush metallic dots on top of it, and it just turned out so pretty. Do you agree with me that the Sahara Sand sentiment is so much better than the basic white? I just 100% love it better. The last card I'm doing is also some of that paper from the Rustic Harvest, and I am just taking a real red Stampin' Write marker with a ruler, and I'm just drawing red lines in one direction. And I mean, it is just so simple. Then I'm going to turn it around, and I'm using shaded spruce to do the other lines. I mean, these colors are just so festive together, and I mean, how simple is this? My piece is 3 3/4 by 5, and I used, I'm going to use, this is the Christmas Pine Cone dies, and what I did was just took a piece of shaded spruce and put it just on one little edge of it, just because I wanted some of those fir trees or pine tree needles, and I just cut them off of the, there's pine cones that are attached to it. So I'm just going to use those for my accents. I'm putting this on a piece of basic white. I had also, well, before I do that, let me tell you about what I'm doing. This is the brushed metallic ribbon, and I'm securing that on the back with tape. And then I'm going to place these greenery pieces after I put this on my real red card base. I'm going to put these greenery pieces on, and I'm using I think maybe glue to put those on, or either glue dots, I can't remember. Glue dots, yeah, I'm using glue dots to put it on. And then the poinsettia dies are from the Merriest, I think it's Merriest Home, hang on a second, Merriest Frames dies. And I am going to use the Season's Greetings stamp set from that same, or Season Greetings sentiment from that same stamp set. And now I'm just using real red ink to place on there, and I'm cutting it a little bit differently in a different direction than I did the other one. And I will place dimensionals on the back of it, and then I am going to put my poinsettias on, which again is from the Merriest Frames die, and I will accent it with the iridescent rhinestones, I believe it is. This is the Simply Elegant metallic ribbon, and I am doing it just a little bit differently on this one. I tied it a bit tighter and just did it a little bit differently, and I'm securing it on with a glue dot. My other one came untied and I didn't like that, so I just did it a little bit differently. And so that's all 4 of my cards, and I absolutely love them, and I love how they came together. I'm sorry if the speeding up thing it didn't allow you to see it clearly, but believe me, you didn't want to sit there for an hour and watch me do that. If you have any questions about these, I would love to answer any of your questions. I would love to hear your comments, which one that you like best, and if you've done any of these, and if you would have gone with different color choices. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do so and give me a thumbs up, and if you ring the bell, you'll get notice of when I have another video coming out. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.